This program is brought to you by Grand Valley State University.
You were listening a little bit. Again, my name is Joshua Lee, first-year grad student in the College Student Affairs Leadership Program. I also work in the Office of Student Life in the leadership and service aspect of it. So I have a little bit of experience with leadership. Throughout the year, we do leadership programs, certificates. So it's not necessarily something that I'm an expert in, but definitely have plenty of experience with. So before we get going, though, I know your names, but I just kind of want to get a feel of where you are, or if you're an undergrad, graduate student, etc., and then why you're in the Howenstein Centers program. If you want to start out.
My name's Dave Miller. I have 24 days left in the Master of Public Administration program at Grand Valley. My emphasis in the program is nonprofit management. And I joined the Howenstein Center, I believe, in August of 2008. I wanted to discuss American history, the American presidency, refine leadership skills, go to events such as this, and network with people as well. I've learned a lot, and it's been a great experience as well.
Great. So Dave, right?
Dave.
Okay.
I'm Brian Flanagan. I'm Associate Director of the Howenstein Center, Program Director of the Leadership Academy. So I've had the pleasure of working with these guys quite a lot. I'm here because I organized it.
Are you the spearheader of this particular aspect of it, of the Howenstein Center's initiatives?
Yeah, the whole leadership program.
Okay.
We put a lot of emphasis on the website. Austin is responsible for the website communications and a lot of that. We do our public events in the evenings, maybe once or twice a month. Typically, and Mandy Bird has those up.
Okay.
We have a library here at the Seidman House. We have a pretty rare book collection. It doesn't really require anyone to head it up, except Robert Biesinger, who's already over there. So yeah, the Leadership Academy is more and more becoming a major focus at the center. And we've got our Fellows program, try to kickstart this workshops program, and we've got a big initiative we're doing with Student Life, in fact, next year called Leadership University. That we'll probably hear about. Hopefully we'll hear about.
Sure. Planning days are coming up pretty quick for the Office of Student Life, so I'm sure we'll start talking about them.
You'll hear all about it from Michelle.
Yep. So, and then Austin, I
am a research assistant at the Howenstein Center. Been there for the past 2 years. Graduated Calvin College.
Perfect. Great, thanks.
Christine Rodebor, grad student, still haven't quite finished all the degrees. I finished my master's in accounting, so the thesis left my master's in education. And master's in communication, we're waiting for feedback from the registrar on where that stands. So it's the worst stuff, it's the paperwork stuff too. I joined the Leadership Academy the first year they had it, and a big reason why was I was involved with leadership programs in my undergrad. I started a community service organization on campus, which has since morphed into a leadership program at the college. And when I came here, of course, the Lakeland leadership programs were not open to graduate students, and theirs were. So I joined for them. Done really well.
Thanks.
My name is Melissa. I graduated last April in a degree in finance and business management. I joined this because I'm looking at expanding my leadership capabilities. And I currently work for a financial advising firm in downtown Grand Rapids.
Thanks.
And my name is Sandy Bloom. I'm the Executive Director of the Economic Development Foundation, which is a nonprofit here in the Grand Rapids area, but we work throughout the state. I'm a grad of Grand Valley, but I get emails about different opportunities, and I'm always looking to improve my skills, and so enjoy coming to workshops like this to learn new things, because we can always learn something new.
Most definitely. Thank you. So we have a diverse kind of group of people here, and what's great about what I'm going to talk about today is that it's applicable to an individual, to groups, student organizations, or even in the corporate world. In fact, the 5 bold steps that we're talking about was developed in the sense for the corporate world, and it's been adapted here for you all. And we're going to take it from the approach as an individual today, and hopefully you'll feel comfortable sharing your ideas as we go through each step of the process. And so again, we're talking about the 5 bold steps, a graphic guide to achieving your goal, which in essence brings together both goal setting and action planning into one process. So what I'd like to do first is have you take these Post-it notes and brainstorm ideas about what are some of your goals in life. What are you trying to strive for right now? What are your motivations to do what you're doing? And put one idea on each Post-it. You can use as many Post-its as you want. Somewhere.
These are career goals, life goals? No
Any
matter what.
goals, yep. Personal, business, educational. We're just writing one goal on each Post-it. It could be personal, professional, educational. As many as you can think of. I won't require you to fill out all of the Post-its you have. Continue writing or finish up on your thoughts that you've got going on right now. I'm going to pass out this graphic guide because it truly is graphic. And what I'd like you to do now is, using your Post-its, create themes branching out from that center, kind of sun-looking figure from the center. The themes could be anything from professional, family, educational, long-term, short-term goals, and just line them out from the center. Say this was family. All your family goals would come out here. Educational goals. You may have one theme. You might have 5 themes. It's really up to how you decided to, or maybe even what you value most.
So we write them in the circles.
You can write them. Otherwise, you can just use your Post-its that you have right there and just stick them onto your piece of paper.
Okay.
And from a student development aspect, and kind of my field of how we kind of make things make sense to students, this is how we do that, through graphics. So if it's corny to you, it might be. And as we get going into kind of what this graphic illustrates, just kind of bear with me. You can choose to buy into it, you may not. But I think no matter if you do or don't, it really is useful in creating 5 steps to finding your goals. So does anyone want to share what maybe some of their goals were, their themes that they created? And if they're personal, I don't want to pry too much, but it'd be great.
Yeah, I can start. So we're still working on it. I only wrote down, 7? And I guess one branch was more about family.
Mm-hmm.
So I just set a not too steep a goal, but a happy, healthy family life.
Mm-hmm.
And a happy, balanced daughter, whatever that might mean. I've got a 9-month-old, I don't want to wreck her. So that's what I'm doing. So that's sort of the family. For work, I love what I'm doing, so I just wrote here, exciting work for one of the goals,
Mm-hmm.
and impactful work for one of the goals. Very broad. And then I'm a reader. Probably noticed in my ODK talk that I think that having knowledge in different areas is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote, sort of as my goals for learning, expert in certain areas, the Holland Science Center's areas, but also knowledgeable in many other areas. And then finally, this one I don't have much control over, but my last branch is an undefeated Notre Dame football team. In the next couple of years, to be one of those.
Not as long as you have to play state every year.
Yeah, right, that's true. That's true. State is recognized.
Great, thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that would like to?
I'll share. I only have 3 themes. The first one was family. To be a great parent. I'm expecting in July, so I don't want to wreck my daughter either.
That's great.
And then finish those projects at home. It seems like they always get started and they never get finished. So that's cool. In my career, I want to finish my certified financial planning designation. So I finished the coursework. Now I just got to cram for the exam and take that. Continue to build a book of business of clientele, and also to have a flexible career for my family life. It's important. And then my other one was faith, and just to continue to grow and expand in my faith.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
I only had 2 themes. One is I'm looking into the long term, I guess. My first theme was my first one was to raise a good family somewhere in the future. I'm getting married next year, and children come after that. I don't know how long after that. I say I can wait till I'm 40. And another long-term goal that you're laughing about that. Another long-term goal I have is to build wealth for my family so we never have to worry financially. My other theme is basically professional, to have a successful and fulfilling career. I'd like to become an expert in one thing, but also be a reliable generalist, someone who can engage in discussion in all aspects of whatever field I'm working in, but someone who's really, really good at something as well.
Sure.
I kind of like the appeal of that. And my third is to continually refine my communication skills, because if you listen to me talk for long enough, I have a tendency to ramble.
Yeah, well, I think we all can work on our communication skills. I'm still working on mine, so thank you. So that, we've done our brainstorming. This is going to shape the rest of our process. But what I want to do next is define and create a foundation for the rest of it by identifying our values. What is most important to you? This might actually mimic what your themes were, but rank them 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Is it your family? Is it religion? Is it money? Is it love? Just rank those at the bottom of your graphic there, and we'll keep those personal to yourselves, so you don't need to share those.
So are we looking for 5? Or?
Nope, it's underneath the bold steps. You can have as many as you want.
Oh, I see, okay.
Sorry if that was confusing.
In the values area, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And feel free to write on the graphic. I have plenty of extras if you want to take an additional one home for yourself to copy. So. The values are really important for creating your 5 bold steps and actually choosing which one of your brainstorm goals you're going to choose as your most important or main goal. Because if your goal doesn't align with your values, even if you accomplish that goal at the end, you're not going to be happy. So we want to make sure those in line with each other. So now, using those brainstormed ideas, we're going to choose one. It doesn't necessarily need to be the most important one to you, but something that you think you can accomplish in a reasonable amount of time. Has anyone utilized the SMART goal process? Does anyone know what these letters stand for?
That stands for short, correct?
No.
Oh.
And you know what? There might be multiple of these. This one is something that I've used for years.
I know M is measurable and A is attainable.
Yes. Anybody have guesses on the R, T, and S?
Are realistic?
Yes.
It's T for like time frame.
Timely, yep. Or time frame, exactly.
You've done this before.
And S, anybody? Stands for specific.
I just validated.
So, when choosing which one of your brainstormed ideas you want to create bold steps for, we need to transform that idea into something that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So for instance, one of my goals was to get a job after I graduate. Pretty general, but in order to transform that into a SMART goal, I changed it to earn an assistant director position within the student life office in Minnesota by March 1st, 2011. Now, what's important there is that it's based on my values. I value my family, and my family's in Minnesota, so I want to get a job in Minnesota. I also value providing for my family, so I want to get a job right after college, ideally. So making sure that your goal, which will then be put into the head of this graphic guide, is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time. So you want to take a minute or two to figure out which one you're going to do and transform that into a SMART goal. And if you are done and feel like sharing, I'd love to hear what that idea is.
Where do we write it? Do we write it in the sun there?
Yep, right in the sun. Oh, I didn't get you one. Anyone like to share their SMART goal?
Sit for the CFP exam in March 2011.
What was the first part of that?
Take the CFP exam in March 2011.
Perfect. What do others, any feedback on that specific goal? Does it?
Taking it fast.
So, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I say you're lucky you have specific goals to begin with.
Right, exactly. These are all broad.
And I mean, I guess, yeah, that follows every single one of those. I guess it's up to you to figure out if it's realistic or not.
Right.
Hopefully it is.
I hope so too.
Anybody else? Austin, how you doing back there?
Good.
Did you create something? A SMART goal?
Yeah, I guess the easiest one for me to kind of fit within those metrics would be getting a graduate degree.
Okay.
I'm trying to pick between programs right now. So, specific degree I think would either be an MA or PhD.
Okay.
Measurable based on graduating within the time frame of the program, either 2 years or 5 years or whatever. I don't know if it's attainable. I hope it is. Let's survive the program.
And, you know, honestly, everything's attainable if you put your mind to it. That's kind of cliche, but it's the true fact. As long as you have steps available to you that you know how to attain that. So, the next part of this is figuring out what's going to support you and challenge you in this. When you look at this graphic guide, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. Some people look at it kind of like a human with arms, and the supports and challenges are your crutches, something that's either going to help you along or something that might, you know, make you fall or challenge you as you walk along this path to your goal. Others look at this as the road to the horizon, the new completing your goal. And that road is based upon your foundation of values, and along that road you're going to have supports, you're going to have challenges, road bumps, green lights, all of that. However you want to visually use this, it's really up to you. So utilizing your graphic guide, kind of list some things that are going to support you in that SMART goal. Depending on what it is, you know, it might be family, it could be your education. For instance, my supports for getting that degree would be, or that next job after graduation would be my master's degree. I feel like I have a pretty high GPA, as well as my excellent professor and supervisor relationships. I think those are going to help me out with their references and letters of support. Some challenges for me: getting a job in Minnesota. I don't have a professional network in Minnesota, so it's going to be hard for me to get those contacts from a distance. And in addition to that, doing those phone interviews are not always the best way to get jobs. You know, I'm sure we can all attest to having done those in the past and not being able to see their reactions to your answers, and it's just a hassle, and it's not the ideal way to get a job, at least in my opinion. So those are my challenges and supports. Feel free to take a minute or two to find yours and to share them if you've got them. So would you mind sharing your challenges and supports?
Supports would be coworkers. I have other coworkers in my office that already have this designation. Also the study guides that are available and the crash courses that are available. Challenges would be creating the time to do the studying that's necessary. The time frame's a bit of a challenge because March is a year away, and it's issued 3 times a year, but the next 2 times that it's issued, the exam, I'm not available to take it, so I have to wait until next March. And the amount of memorization that's involved for an exam of this magnitude.
Christine, would you mind sharing those?
Okay, I chose to do a thesis to graduate from the Masters of Education Adult and Higher Ed by December 2010 is the goal. Supports out of my knowledge of existing education. I did an undergraduate thesis also, and the possibility that I could rework one of my projects into being the subject that I use for the research aspect of the thesis. Challenges include money to pay the tuition, and finding a good subject that's really going to work well for a good thesis, and finding a good advisor. Advisor's huge. As you well know, we have no faculty for this degree. In case anyone didn't know, it's an adjunct top degree. So.
I'm surrounded by my second-year cohort right now that are finishing up their thesis, and it's kind of amusing to watch them kind of scramble around writing their chapters. But now I'm in the mindset too, like, oh, I have to start thinking about this thesis project too. And thesis advisor is very important, especially one that's going to challenge you.
Well, the College of Education, see, you're probably going to be in that special cohort of CSEL students because there's the 2 levels within the CSEL program, and if you're not in that special cohort, then you get excluded from a lot of things. And so people who aren't in the special cohort often don't get one of the CSEL advisors as their advisor. And adult and higher ed, we might get a CSEL advisor, but they might just randomly assign us to anyone in the College of Education. So last time I tried to do it, I ended up with a college teacher whose background was elementary education. It was horrible, being an adult education person. So yeah, I have years of experience teaching adults, and this person, nothing but K-12 elementary.
Sure.
So yeah.
Can you utilize advisors from different institutions?
Not in education. I can in communication. but not in education. The question is actually going to be whether I could possibly get the newbie ESL teacher. There's a fairly new ESL professor who might be convinced that this is a good plan because he's so new. So if I come up with a subject that would cross borders, that might work because his background is English for specific purposes. So.
Very cool. Thank you. Anybody else?
I guess I'll just tell you the goal that I wrote is in the area of developing expertise, which is a broad goal, and the probably not specific enough goal is to research, write, and publish a book by December 2012. A topic to be determined. But I do know that, you know, short of doing more school, which is difficult with a 9-month-old, Austin will develop a whole lot of expertise in the next few years. But short of going back to grad school, writing a book is one of the best ways to develop expertise by doing the research, interviewing the right people, grappling with ideas, and really sitting down and trying to make sense of it and write it. So I think that would help me develop the expertise I want. Supports, I said, a very supportive family, co-workers and other professional colleagues who are very supportive and knowledgeable. Some of the credibility lent by the Hollenstein Center and Grand Valley State University. And also I'm going to be teaching a leadership course next winter, and then I think each year after that, that'll help me develop expertise in that area. Challenges, finding the time, finding something original and significant to write about, because why write it otherwise? So finding the right topic in general. And then other goals that infringe on times. Family goals, health, work, everything else. So I guess it's related to finding time.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this graphic guide is that we're focusing on one, but they're definitely intertwined with other life commitments, and they're all intertangled with each other. So the next part, there's no science to this. What we've done so far is already what the mind kind of does naturally. We already assess what our challenges and what our supports are. We make decisions based on what we value. And we already know what we've brainstormed. It's in our head, but until you write it on paper, I feel that it really doesn't come to fruition, because until you see that every day, and what I'm going to suggest to you is that you either write this down somewhere else where you see it every single day to remind yourself of this is the goal that I've set for myself. Because if you do and you keep that cognitive thought going, you'll achieve that goal. So this next part is creating 5 steps to achieving this. And again, there's no science to this. I'm not going to provide you with a way to figure out how to create these 5 steps, but utilizing your SMART goal, your supports and challenges, what are the 5 steps that are going to get you to succeed? I mean, what do you need to do to overcome those challenges? What supports are you going to utilize to, help yourself get to that? Just utilize the whole graphic and create up to 5. Usually anywhere from 3 to 5 is probably good. If you have more, feel free. But I want you to leave today with something tangible that you can write down, you can put somewhere that you can remind yourself, okay, I've got to do this, and you can check off step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hopefully by the 6th step, you're there and you've accomplished your goal. So take some time to do that. We'll check in a few minutes. And as you're doing this, some of you might ask yourself or want to ask me, well, what makes this so bold? What are these 5 bold steps? And I interpret this as they're bold steps because you've taken the time to identify everything that's on this graphic. You've taken the time to identify what your needs are, what your strengths are, and really put the effort into making this something that's realistic. I'll share mine. I had 4. I want to continue to strive for excellence and earn a 3.8 cumulative GPA. I'd like to receive, there's an internship available with the regional association in my field, and I'd like to help plan the regional conference, which is actually in Minneapolis, Minnesota this year. So by doing that, I can create some good networks in Minnesota. Apply for Minnesota positions that I'm highly qualified for and do it early. I've noticed that some of my colleagues apply for things that they're either not qualified for or not particularly interested in. They just do it because they want to make sure they have a job. I think that's a waste of my time and their time, so I want to make sure I apply for ones I'm qualified for and interested in, and then connect with those my interested institutions at the NASPA and ACPA conferences, because I know they're going to be there. There's socials there, as well as job fairs there, and if I can continue to see their face and they can identify me, hopefully I'll get my name out there and they'll be willing to hire me next year. So those are my bold steps, and I think it's very attainable, and it's just a matter of time before I can achieve my goal. So anybody want to share what they've got? This is all about sharing, this whole presentation.
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Finish the reading that I need to do. Even though I completed all the coursework, some of the reading was more of a skimming than an actual read. And then finish the study guide course. And then just do kind of like my own refresher before I go into the crash course. And then complete practice exams. I hope to be scoring on the practice exams between like an 85 and a 90% before I actually go into the test itself.
Great.
I'll
This
share.
is CPA, right?
CFP. It's kind of it's a certified financial planner. It's
Financial
comparable to the CPA for
CPA.
financial planners.
Right, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is very similar. My degree's in finance, and I would like to get my CFP. I'm kind of on the other end of life from most of you. I have 4 children. My youngest is 17, so I've got one that's married, one that's getting married, and then one that's going to be in college next year, and one that's here. So my busyness is completely different than yours is. We've been spending a lot of time, and should we expect finances on getting them through private school and now into college and graduating. So once our youngest actually gets into college, my time will be freed up quite a bit. And so my goal is getting my CFP within 3 years. I've taken a couple of classes, but it's been a while. And so what I need to do is start at the beginning again. And my goals are first putting a time frame in place with the end goal in mind of getting the CFP within 3 years, and working back with that in terms of, all right, when do I need to take the classes? So that would be my first step. My second would be to sign up for the classes. The third is putting higher education dollars into my budget. And then the fourth is actually putting the weekly time into my schedule, because it does take a very large chunk of time, and then executing based on that long-term plan.
Anybody else? Okay. Now, like I said at the beginning, this graphic, we did it on an individual setting right now, but you can easily apply this in a group setting. And in the corporate world, this would be more of strategic planning. And These rays would be the brainstormed ideas of all of your employees. And through that process of brainstorming everyone in your cohort, your employee base, you create one strategic plan and do the exact same process. But you may or may not have many more bold steps than just 5, depending on who's responsible for what. So I kind of want to get an idea of what is your reaction to this? Is this something that you would use? Is this something that seems simple, but you didn't think about it? Is this something you won't use? I mean, what are your reactions to it? I've never necessarily presented it in this form because there's a million ways that people strategic plan, goal set, action plan. But when I found this seemed to merge the two together in one process, and then in the end give you a visual of what you need to do. So again, is there any feedback on this?
I think it's great. I think, you know, the challenge that a lot of us got at was that there are so many goals that you almost have to have multiple of these in your life. I can see it being really valuable, I mean, outside your personal life and the work world, especially if you're running a business or running an organization like the Howenstein Center. It's important to be able to see the steps toward getting where you're going, not just say where you're going to go.
Exactly.
And I think it's a good idea to look at it every day or look at it very often because, you know, you do it once, you think you're good, but unless you keep reinforcing it.
Exactly.
I think using this in an organizational setting can be good. I think one of the things that may point out too is that, you know, especially in a smaller organization where you've got some people who need to be the decision makers and other people that are support, there may be different goals and they may be opposed to one another, and so then, you know, you've got some unique problems there because someone at some point has to say, all right, I understand where you're coming from, but this is the goal that we're going to aim for, and to use a cliche, you can get on the bus and go with us or get off.
Yep.
And it might bring some of those things to light as well because, as we all know, if you don't have the support of all of the folks that are in the organization, it's tough to attain goals.
Definitely.
I never thought about using it in an organizational setting, but I can see how that would be huge because then you're sharing what the goal is with the entire organization and people can give their thoughts and input on it. So I can see that as being a big thing.
And there's definitely more buy-in that way.
And I like the SMART acronym because a lot of us start out with so many broad goals, and really to accomplish a broad goal is a whole bunch of specific goals that you have to achieve in order to accomplish a broad goal. So I like, you know, just starting out small, even though you're thinking big.
Yeah. Good.
I think this would be an excellent way to teach, you know, people in an organizational setting the difference between goals and objectives as well. So I'm sure we've all had coworkers that don't know the difference between goals, objectives, short-term goals, long-term goals, and it's something that people easily get confused about. But I think it would also be helpful in, you know, a capacity building tool or as a tool basically to refine your employees' abilities.
Good. Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, there's extra copies if you want to take more with you. I think I copied 20, so there's plenty. You can maybe even take 2. Hopefully, this gave you at least one other idea on how to maybe organize your own thoughts or something in an organization if you are president or anything. So, I guess that's all I really have for you today. If you have any other questions, remarks, feel free to talk to me. Otherwise, I hope you have a good day and that you enjoyed this session. It's not an hour and 15 minutes. You still have some time left.
Yeah, that's fine.
So.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Grand Valley State University. Visit us at gbsu.edu.